I'm Anne Ogden-Gaffney from Anne's Digital Kitchen and Cook for Your Life. Now, it's just coming into asparagus season and we're going to be making this really fantastic cream of asparagus soup. It's really light, really easy, and it takes almost no time at all. So right now I'm just cutting some potatoes. I'm cutting them really thinly. It doesn't mean they don't necessarily need to be in nice neat rounds. They just need to be thin because we're going to cook these with the asparagus, and I'm using for this some very thin green asparagus. We're going to cook in literally 5 to 6 minutes. Look, see? These are how they are. And now we've already prepped them by pulling off the ends, and I'll just show you how to do that. Take about an inch in, and then you'll find it'll just snap. And that area where it just snaps, see, that one is a bit bendy, it's not quite the right spot. We'll show you where the woody parts are. Now for this soup we're going to keep the woody parts together, and we're going to put it in with some scallion tops. Now we're going to be using scallions instead of onions for this soup, and these tops, which we usually get thrown away, I'm going to be putting them into the stock. Okay, I'm just going to do this now really quickly so we get them done. That's going to be enough for what we need. So I'm just going to put these to one side. Now I'm going to chop some scallions. Now when you prepare the scallions, you'll see that there's these kind of, you just want to pull any kind of parts off that don't look kind of nice. I'm just going to do the lazy thing here and just line up all of these little root ends and chop them off. I'm just going to slice these really thinly. We already have a few done here. These are kind of really flavorful, but they're not exactly the part that we want in this, because this is kind of a very, you'll see when it's finished, it's a very light soup. And we're going to make a Bouquet Garni, which I'm going to show you how to do. It's a very kind of fancy name for something that's really quite simple. And to make it, you just need 2 or 3 pieces of parsley, and this is the flat leaf Italian parsley. A sprig, that's a really nice, that's a good sprig. This is a sprig of fresh thyme and a bay leaf. Now, then you just kind of, it's going to sound like crackly, you just roll it up. Now, I've got some twine here. Probably should have cut it before. And I'm just going to kind of wrap it around a couple of times. And what this does is secure like the bay leaf inside, but also it makes the herbs into a really good packet that you can just fish out of the stock. Now this, along with a little bit of salt, these things here are going to make a really delicious stock. You just put them into a pan and cover them with water. I'll just show you here in this. Bouquet Garni, and a good handful of these guys. Now I'm just going to cover it with water, which is by the stove, of course. And then put it on to cook for about 25 minutes. Okay? Right, so this is how it turns out looking. You can see that everything has kind of cooked down, and there's a lot of color in that broth. And this is where it's kind of good to have the string, because you can just hook that out. Now, with this it doesn't really matter because we're going to strain everything away, but often you'll see in recipes for soups and stews where they ask for a bouquet garni, that you have to remove it. And this is what makes it easy to do. Right, this is ready now, so I'm going to strain it into a bowl. There we go, and that's it. And that's the stock which is going to give extra asparagus flavour to the soup. Now I'm going to cut the flower ends, which, you know, these are the flower ends of the asparagus. Just kind of, they're not going to be exact, I'm just kind of trying to put them as far as possible all together. And I'm just going to trim them off. I'm going to put them into a bowl just to keep them to one side, and I'm going to soak them and cover them with some water, and we'll soak them. And then I just cut these into smaller pieces. There's a couple that got away. Okay. Ooh. Got to the end there. Now, on the recipe it says to peel them, but when you're using teeny tiny green asparagus like this, you really don't need to. If you peeled them, there wouldn't be anything left anyway. So, all right, so let's go to the stove. I'm going to put the heat on to high, just to get this started. High, medium, high. I like to make this soup with butter, and this is a big 2 tablespoons. You can make it obviously with, this soup is pretty much vegan if you don't use a butter, so you can make this with a vegan butter or a neutral tasting oil. Foamy is what it's doing now, if you can see that. It's kind of white and foamy. So I'm going to start off with the scallions, now the potato, and you'll see why these are so thinly sliced now. It's not so much for the look, it's so that they match up with the little skinny asparagus, because the whole thing about this soup is that once we've got this on, it literally takes 10 minutes to cook until it's tender. Let those get going, and I'm going to put in the asparagus. Sprinkle with salt. The salt will pull out the liquid from the asparagus, the scallions. And right, I'm going to put the lid back and leave them another couple of minutes more. Right, now the water's boiling here. Just going to put a lid on top. And that means that they'll just cook and steam a little bit. And we're only going to literally do this for like a minute or so. It's not really going to be any time at all. That's good. That's good. I'm just going to strain them. Okay. Now here's the stock that we strained earlier on. I'm going to bring it up the high again, bring it to a boil. And the minute it comes to the boil, we cook it for 8 minutes. That's it. And we'll come back to it in a minute. Now I'm going to add to that some spring herbs. Now you can make any kind of assortment that you want, really, but my favorite spring herb are chives. Now I'm not going to use all of these. If you have a garden, you know that if you have chives in your garden, it's they're a bit like weeds. They just grow everywhere, but they just got a lovely light oniony flavour, which is really good, and especially with this soup where we're not using regular onions. So let me just wipe my knife. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut those ends off, and then I'm just going to do it into little tiny pieces. Now we're also going to put in some parsley. Not a lot, because again this is garnish and I want it to stay light, so I'm not going to put the stems in. I'm just going to literally just pull those off. Those are great to put in the soup pot, by the way. Now when you bundle it up like that, it gives you a chance to cut through a lot of it all at once. It gives you a jump on doing the chopping. Okay, let's bring this down a bit. This is all cooked now. And you can see that the asparagus is still green, and the potatoes I can just about break with the... Okay, so now when you're blending really hot things like this, you really don't want to put too much in. Otherwise, you can see the steam coming off. So as this starts to spin round, that steam gets speed and it will push the lid off. So it's better to do, if you fill it right up to here, you're going to end up with it all over the kitchen. Now also put a rag on top of it and start it off slow. And you can see what a gorgeous color it goes, like really pretty green.